This is where the real shift begins. Every effective operator relies on a mental structure that cuts through uncertainty, and this lesson gives you one that scales from quick tactical choices to high-stakes strategic moves. The three-step framework you're about to learn becomes a force multiplier, clarifying options, exposing weak assumptions, and tightening your decision process. Once it sinks in, you won't approach problems the same way again. Let's open the door to it. Here's what happens without a framework. You rely on gut feelings under pressure. Your decisions become inconsistent, and you can't figure out why some choices work while others fail spectacularly. Frameworks aren't about removing intuition. They're about channeling it effectively. When the stakes are high and the pressure is intense, your brain needs structure, not more stress. Think of it like a pilot's checklist. Even experienced professionals use systematic approaches because relying purely on memory fails when it matters most. Great entrepreneurs don't wing important decisions. They use repeatable systems that compound success over time. The biggest waste in business is solving the wrong problem brilliantly. Most entrepreneurs jump straight to solutions without understanding what they're actually deciding. Here's the critical question. What am I really deciding here? Surface questions hide deeper strategic choices. Hiring someone isn't really about that person. It's about what capability gap you're filling in your organization. Pricing decisions aren't about numbers. They're about market positioning and value perception. Get step one right, and the rest becomes dramatically easier. Get it wrong, and even perfect execution leads nowhere useful. Let's make this concrete with real examples. When you ask, should I hire this person? You're starting in the wrong place. Better question, what capability gap am I filling? And is this person the best solution? See the difference? One leads to yes-no thinking. The other opens strategic options. Maybe you need a consultant, not an employee. Same with pricing. Should I lower prices? Assumes price is your problem. Better frame, what's my value positioning strategy? Now you might discover you need to raise prices and improve perceived value. Reframing unlocks options you couldn't see before. Once you've defined the real decision, you need intelligence, but not infinite research. Here's the trap. More information feels productive, but it often just delays commitment. Set strict time limits on your research phase based on decision reversibility and stakes. Ask yourself, what data would actually change my decision? If you're gathering information that won't influence your choice, stop immediately. Distinguish ruthlessly between facts and opinions, especially when everyone has advice to offer. Remember, you're looking for sufficient intelligence, not perfect knowledge. That doesn't exist. Using these 5 questions to guide your research efficiently. First, what data would make this decision obvious? That tells you what to prioritize. Second, who has made similar decisions before? Experience shortens your learning curve dramatically. Third, what are my measurable success criteria? If you can't measure success, you can't evaluate alternatives. Fourth, what assumptions am I making? Unexamined assumptions are decision killers. Fifth, what's the cost of waiting for perfect information? Opportunity costs often exceed the risk of deciding with incomplete data. These questions prevent analysis paralysis while ensuring adequate diligence. Analysis has diminishing returns. There's a point where more research adds nothing. That's when you make the call. Set decision deadlines and honor them religiously, or you'll perpetually find reasons to wait. Choose the best available option, not the mythical perfect one that doesn't exist. Here's the critical habit. Document your reasoning before executing. Why? Because 6 months later, you'll review what worked and what didn't, extracting lessons that compound your skills. Once decided, commit fully. Half-hearted execution guarantees mediocre results, even from good decisions. Decide with the information you have, not what you wish you had. This is crucial. In entrepreneurship, you'll never have perfect information, so waiting for it guarantees missed opportunities. There's an elegant solution, though. Reversible decisions need less deliberation than irreversible ones. Hiring someone? Reversible if you're honest in the first 90 days. Selling your company? Irreversible. Take your time. Here's the liberating part. Regret comes from bad processes, not bad outcomes. If you followed a solid process, you can live with any result and learn from it. Own your decisions completely. instead of second guessing after the fact. Even with a framework, entrepreneurs make predictable mistakes. The biggest? Skipping step 1 entirely, diving into solutions without defining the real problem. You'll solve something brilliantly that didn't need solving. Second mistake, analysis paralysis in step 2, convincing yourself you need just one more data point before deciding. Third, failing to commit in step 3, keeping options open indefinitely, which is really just making the decision to do nothing. Fourth, not documenting your reasoning, which means you can't learn systematically from experience. Finally, confusing speed with quality. Rushing isn't the same as being decisive. Both require proper process. The framework structure stays constant, but the depth changes based on your timeline. Ultra-fast decisions, like responding to a customer emergency in minutes, use step 1 plus trained instinct. Standard decisions with a few days timeline get the full 3-step treatment at normal depth. Strategic decisions with weeks to consider justify multiple iterations through the framework, each loop refining your understanding. The key is scaling the depth and thoroughness, not abandoning or modifying the structure itself. Different situations need different levels of rigor, but the same fundamental approach works everywhere. Start building competence with low-stakes decisions where mistakes are cheap. Practice the framework deliberately on vendor choices, minor hires, or tactical marketing decisions. Create decision templates for choices you make repeatedly: hiring, pricing adjustments, partnership evaluations. Templates speed up recurring decisions without sacrificing quality. Schedule monthly decision reviews: what worked, what didn't, what patterns are emerging. If you're building a team, get everyone using the same framework so you develop shared decision language. Mastery comes from deliberate repetition, not occasional use. Make this your default mode of operation. Remember, always define the real decision before solving anything. Wrong problem, wrong solution. Gather intelligence that actually changes your choice, not just information that makes you feel busy. Make the call with conviction and document your reasoning so you can learn systematically. This framework works across all decision types and timelines, from hiring to pivots to market entry. Practice deliberately to build automatic competence. It should become unconscious. Next up, we're diving into data-driven decision-making. When numbers should drive your choices, which metrics actually matter, and how to avoid drowning in analytics while missing opportunities.